Hello, 30-day challenge participants. This is day 4, January 4th. I'm really hoping you guys are keeping up with these 30-minute videos. I'm having a great time recording them, coming up with fresh classes every day. I think it's really fun. So I look forward to hearing any feedback from you guys that you might have regarding what you'd like to see more of, what's maybe challenging for you, anything you want to share with me. I'd love to hear how it's going for you. Today is all about the hips. We're going to do happy hip class, 30 minutes, and we're going to dig into the hips. It's been said that the hips are where we keep our sense of personal freedom. When the hips are tight, we feel a little bit more limited in that freedom. And so hopefully after today's class, you're going to find kind of an overall feeling of freedom in your body. That's going to be good feeling. We all like freedom. So we're going to start with some warm-ups from gate pose. And I welcome you to spread out a blanket just kind of in the center of the mat. For this practice, you want to have a couple blocks, a strap, and a blanket. I'm just using a rectangular blanket here to pad my knees. We're going to do a few kneeling pieces today, and I just want your knees to be comfortable. And then also have a block. I just put the block out in front of you to your right side. And gate pose is named as such because when we come into the full pose, which we're not doing today, it looks like a bar that has locked a gate. That's why the pose is called gate pose. So you're going to begin with a 90-degree knee, right knee, in line with your ankle. And we're going to reach up with the arms and just take a few deep breaths. What you're trying to do here is press the outer right knee back toward the wall behind you, and you'll kind of feel the inner thigh of the right leg opening. So come to the top of the next inhalation. On your exhale, you're going to bring your hand onto your block. You can adjust the height anywhere you need, right inside the foot, and working your arm and leg together. You're going to roll the top shoulder back. And when you feel like the top shoulder is back enough, you're going to stack the arm, revolve the arm, palm faces right, and align the arm with the left side of the head. Just a big, good stretch here. We don't want to jump into the hips too quickly, so I just planned the class with a little bit of a warm-up sequence to get the hips nice and ready. And of course, when we're working with hips, we have our inner hips, outer hips, we have hip flexors, the front hips. So we're kind of addressing all of that here in these first few poses that we're going to do. Inhale, lift yourself up and out of it. And now you're going to exhale and extend the right heel out so that your right leg is straight. When you're looking at the alignment, the right heel should be in line with the left knee. Right toes are pointing out to the right. And so now take your arms up again. A couple breaths. Good. We're going to come into kind of a kneeling version of triangle pose. So on an exhale, bring your hand down again inside the leg. Right hand or left hand comes onto the hip. And revolve your torso so that you're pointing the chest out to this middle space here and eventually to the left. And again, when you feel this top shoulder rolling back enough that it's over the bottom shoulder, stack the arm, triangle arm. A couple deep breaths. And then use an inhalation to bring yourself up and out of it and lower the arms. And now you can take the block out of the way. Take hold of your hips, and like we did yesterday, just kind of clamp the elbows in a little bit so that you're feeling your chest lift and spread. And as you exhale, you're going to bend the knee and just kind of sink to your right. You'll feel that nice big opener to the groin and the hip. Inhale to pull back. Exhale again. It's okay if the knee tracks beyond the ankle for this one, not always is the case, but here it's perfectly fine and healthy for the alignment. Okay, so leaning into that big stretch on your exhalation is always a good idea. And last one, big exhale. And inhale, go ahead and switch your legs over. We'll do the same 3 things to the left, placing a block to the left. Starting with the 90-degree knee, we want to see the left heel in alignment with the knee, left toes pointing off to the left, and then your right hip is above the right knee. Okay, so raising the arms, fully extend the arms, reach up through the fingernails, but keep your shoulders really engaged into the torso. And a couple deep breaths. And when you come to the very top of the next inhalation, you can exhale your way to planting the left hand underneath the shoulder, right to the inner foot, directly to the inner foot. And then with that stacking top arm, revolving the palm to face left and aligning the arm with the ear. Do your best to roll the left side body out of the shadows into the light. Keep pressing your arm and leg together, feeling the release along the left inner thigh. Elongating those right intercostal muscles between your right side ribs. And just enjoying a lot of spaciousness here. Use an inhale to help you up, like someone's grabbing that top wrist and pulling you. Inhale, come up. Exhale, lower the arm. And now go ahead and step the left foot out until you see a straight leg. Want to see the kneecap pointing up. If your toes don't touch the ground, that's okay, but direct the toes out to the left. And then, of course, the block will be in place where we need it for that kneeling version of triangle pose. So raise the arms again. Couple breaths, inviting spaciousness in a vertical way into the body, into the torso, the arms. With the next inhale, come to the very top of that breath. Exhale, placing the left hand in line with the shoulder. Stacking that top arm, shoulder over shoulder. And drawing a couple deep breaths. And then using an inhalation to help lift you out of that big pose. And you can move the block aside. You don't have to, but if it's in your way, you can. We're going to start to exhale the left knee and inhale, straighten the leg. And you might not be ready for the fullest kind of extent of it, so you might have to limit range of motion. Just let that inner thigh talk to you and tell you what you need. 3 more deep exhales. Re-entry and repetition is a really good way to wake up the body, whereas sometimes holding a pose statically for a long time isn't as effective, especially if the muscles are very tight. So we're going to inhale and pull back, release the arms, step both knees onto your blanket and just kind of bring yourself back and separate the knees, bring the feet together, sit back for child's pose, planting your forehead on your fist and just holding for a few breaths. Okay, so we're going to keep our kneeling blanket here for the first sequence. We're going to dig into the hips a little bit more, and you can put both blocks out to the short end of the mat that you're going to face, and you'll come into a table position with your knees on the blanket. On an exhalation, curl the toes underneath and bringing your legs into full extension for downward facing dog. Just begin to walk your heels and wake up the backs of your legs. And sometimes I like to coordinate the exhalation with the heel going down. Inhale to lift it. It's always nice when you can let the breath set a natural rhythm for the movement. The next time you see your left heel come down, you can leave it there. Invite your right leg up. Try not to turn the hips. I call it the dog at the fire hydrant. Try not to do the dog at the fire hydrant. So keep your hips really level. Take the right leg as high as it goes, and then on an exhalation, step through and place the right foot in line with the right knee. Go ahead and lower the left knee. And then you can rest on the top of the left foot, bring yourself up right with the torso. And this is all about opening the front of the left thigh. This is the left hip flexor. So how we do that is we take the tailbone into the body. Keep a steady gaze forward on the horizon. And with your exhales, just a little bit of a sinking forward to yawn open the left hip flexor space. Exhale, sink it forward. Inhale, pull back. So sometimes when we have a lot of tension in the body, this repetition and re-entry is a way to titrate so that we don't try to do everything all at once, which the body doesn't usually respond well to. So with these little dips in and out, you're just titrating an opportunity to open in the body. Just one more. So you're going to keep it leaning forward here and move your hands inside the right foot. And you might ground on your hands. There's lots of options here. You might ground on your hands. You might be able to come to a medium height, resting your forearms on your blocks. And for some of us, you might be able to bring your forearms to the ground. So you find your kind of Goldilocks version of what is best. And then squeeze your right knee to your right shoulder. In essence, we're trying to fatigue the right hip because then it will be a little more responsive to relaxing and opening with the next thing we do. So squeeze or hug the knee to the right shoulder. Keep yawning open left hip flexor. Use your breathing, it's one of your best tools. Every pose is a window open in the body, and if we don't breathe, there's no effect. So make sure once the window in the body is open that you're breathing. Just one more kind of squeeze of the knee to the shoulder. And if you did come to forearms, now you're going to come back to your hands. And if you have blocks, just use your blocks under your hands. And now we're going to turn out the right toes 45 degrees. We're going to drop the right knee out to the side and you let your weight bearing to the outer edge of the foot. You're uprooting the inner edge of the foot. Press down with your left hand. Take your right hand to your right inner knee. Twisted lizard. So as you're pushing that knee, you're coiling the spine and you're bringing your chest to the right. You're having an elongation in the spine, but also a deep rotation and a real deep opportunity for left hip flexor to keep yawning open. Couple breaths here. Should feel really good to the right hip after doing all that adduction, pulling to midline. After this exhalation, you can gently bring the knee back. We're going to come into a little bit of a strength pose here, just a little bit of a low lunge. So you can bring your hands to the floor. You might keep your blocks. You're going to transfer your right hand outside your right foot. Curl your left toes underneath. Keep your torso long and extend the left leg. If you can really anchor into the legs here, you might attempt to free up the arms and reach forward, kind of a power pose here, a couple breaths. If you did reach forward, touch the floor, lower the left knee, and on the inhale, everybody's going to sweep it up on Jhanyasana, just raising both arms, lifting the gaze, taking the tailbone into the body. Good. Inhale to bring your hands down. You're going to kick back the right leg and send it up there, downward facing dog with one leg lifted up. Adho Mukha Svanasana, Ekapada. And lowering the right toes. Begin to walk your heels again. Next time, right heel lowers down. You can leave it there. Inhale, pick up the left leg. Two straight legs, left leg as high as you can bring it. And on the exhalation, sweep the leg through and step underneath the knee and take the right knee down. Okay, and bring yourself up here. Take hold of the hips. On the exhalations, just start to make inquiry into the body. Don't assume the same thing is true on this side. So to take fresh notes, going to make a fresh assessment. Oftentimes our hips are not matching with their tension patterns. Leaning forward as long as you're exhaling. So again, the idea that the breath really sets a natural rhythm for the movement. Yawning open this front right thigh. Last exhale here. And with that, you'll keep it forward and take your hands now to the inside of the left foot. And we're going to be coming onto forearms. So you might use the blocks again. If you're going to come onto your forearms and the floor is too far away, you might stay on your hands, long arms, or you might bring your forearms to the ground. And this is where we're squeezing left knee against left shoulder. We're continuing to invite the opening to the front right thigh. We're attempting to keep enough weight in the forearms that we're not hanging in the shoulders. We're not turning into turtles. We're breathing and essentially fatiguing the left hip a little bit so we can kind of soak up that lizard pose a little more deeply after this. Now with yoga, if the mind is present to the current here and now experience, it's a really good sign that you're in a pretty well-built pose. And if the mind is wandering, you're either getting a little complacent, meaning you're bored, you're underwhelmed, or you've taken on too much too soon, you're overwhelmed, you're escaping. So use your own mind as a tool to determine if you have this pose in a good place. Okay, that's good. Enough squeezing there. So if you are on forearms, you're going to come back to the hands, whether it's on the blocks or the floor. Turn your left toes out 45 degrees, which frees up the hip a little bit to externally rotate. Roll to the outer edge of your left foot. Let the knee drop out wide. Anchor into your right hand. Free up the left hand. Press on the inner left knee. Coil the spine to the left. And imagine you're coiling the spine from the tip of the tailbone out through the top of the head, the crown of the head. Keep enough pressure in your right hand. You're not taking a nap on your right shoulder. You have a neck. 3 more breaths. And finishing the exhalation, you can inhale, turn yourself back, realign the toes to point forward, realign and ground the bottom of the foot. You can move the blocks aside. This is where we're going to attempt to raise the knee from the floor. So pressing hands down, you now have left hand outside the left foot. Turn the right toes under. On an exhale, extend the leg fully. You might keep hands down. That might be the needful thing for you to do. Otherwise, you might be able to get enough anchoring into the legs you can reach the arms forward. One more big in-breath, and on your exhale, go ahead and place your fingers down if they were lifted. Lower the right leg, knee. Inhale, sweep the arms up on Jhanyasana. A full expression of a back bend here. Opening from the right knee all the way out through the fingertips. So really be a nice convex shape to the front body here. Keep bringing the tailbone into the body so that you don't shorten or cramp the lumbar spine. And on your in-breath, lengthen out of that back bend. You're going to come into Ekapada Adho Mukha Svanasana, which just means we're shooting the left leg up into the sky in downward dog. On an exhalation, kick it back, reach it up there. Lower the foot, and again, go back to walking your heels. So go ahead and pause with the heel walks, and you're going to just transfer the blanket off of the mat over to the right, available to you, but not on your mat. Go back to walking the heels. And the next time your left heel lowers down, you can leave it down. Inhale, raise the right leg. And on an exhale, draw your right knee to your right elbow. Align your shoulders above your wrists. And then swing your right shin to cross the mat. We're coming into pigeon pose. So this blanket here is available because we want to kind of tuck it underneath the right hip space or the buttock so that we don't sink into the right hip. We want to keep the hips level. What tends to happen is we sit down on the right hip on this side. So use the blanket in a way that you can get your hips to really sit in a level position. And then use your hands tenting up on the fingertips to find the namesake for this pose, pigeon pose, because we puff up the chest. We find a really open expression of the front body that we try to carry into the forward bend. So from here, at the top of the in-breath, lengthen forward, And make a little platform for your forehead using 2 fists. Rest your forehead. So if this is excruciating, do lean to the right to ease out of it, to titrate the sensation. You're not going to get very far taking on too much too soon with the hips. You can also kind of soften the shin to a more vertical position on your mat. If you need more, you can inch your shin to be more parallel with the top of your mat. You can inch your left leg back as well. So you can always find the amount of sensation that you need. You're going to stay in this version of pigeon pose 5 more breaths. Try to really sink in deeply to the exhalations. Let something else go that's sitting in your hip. The hip is very good at hanging on. So use this opportunity to pour or siphon off the tension from the right hip. On the end of the exhalation, you can lift your forehead, cross the left forearm in front of you, kind of just across the mat. Take your right hand onto your right hip, really digging in firmly with that grounded forearm. Coil the spine to the right again. And notice how we can get into that right hip space a bit more here. Good. After the inhalation, turn back toward the floor and you're going to use your hands to help you up. And from here, just make an attempt to bend your left knee. And if you can, you'll reach back and grab the front left ankle. But once you have the ankle hold, if you have it, try to align your shoulders and hips evenly again so they're squared off. Don't let yourself turn to the left. Keep yourself really squared up to that short end of the mat. Keep yawning open the left hip flexor. One day, someday, we're reaching above the head and grabbing the foot with both hands, which is a safer position because it doesn't misalign your knee. So what you don't want to do here is tug on the ankle and distort the shin or misalign the shin. Keep the shin tracking with the thigh bone. In other words, try not to pull at an angle on the ankle. Okay? So we'll come out of it now, releasing the hold on the ankle if you had it. You can move your blanket aside, just off the mat so it doesn't trip you up. We're going to come through downward dog again with the one lifted leg. Curl your left toes under and exhale, shoot the right leg back behind you. And it's important to really straighten and firm up the right leg here so that the knee, if it did misalign a little bit with the hip opener, comes back into a safe alignment. And touch down with the right toes and begin walking your heels. When right heel comes down next time, raise the left leg. Nice straight leg, as high reaching as you can get it. On the exhale, you're going to go ahead and bring the left knee toward the left elbow. Stack the shoulders above the wrists and then swing the left shin across your mat. So you're attempting to bring that shin more closely into a parallel alignment with the top of the mat. Okay, we're going to work the blanket underneath the left hip side now. Again, you might have a different amount of height that you need on this side compared to the right, so make a fresh assessment. And then finding the even hips, the even shoulders, and that really nice puffed up pigeon chest, that full expression of an open front body. Carry that into a forward bend here. Propping your forehead on your fists. And settling in. The first few breaths, we just wait out reflexes in the body. The hip is still kind of in a clenched position. We'll just tune into the breathing and let it soften, become smooth and steady. About 5 more breaths here. Every exhalation, pouring tension off the left hip space. Use an in-breath to pick up the head. We're going to cross the right forearm in front of us, palm is down. Really anchor into that arm. Take the left hand onto the left hip. And on an exhalation, pressing into the floor, coil the spine to the left. Extending from the tailbone out through the top of the head, shining the chest to the left. Still yawning open the right hip flexor. Feeling a bit more sensation in the left hip. Good. Finishing off an exhalation, inhale, turning back to facing forward. Place both hands down. You're going to bring yourself up here. You might just stay here. You might make that attempt to bend the right knee. And if you have that, you might attempt to reach back and grab the front ankle. Try not to pull at an angle, so we're keeping the knee safe. If you do have the ankle hold, attempt to realign your chest and shoulders forward to the top end of the mat. Opening right hip flexor. Just stay for a couple moments. Good. Go ahead and release the hold. We'll come out through that last downward dog, shooting the left leg up. So make sure the blanket comes out of the way. Curl the right toes underneath. Exhale, shooting that left leg back behind you. Make sure to firm the leg and flex the foot fully. Take care of the knee. Restabilize the knee. And then touch down with the toes. Bring your knees to the floor. Cross your ankles and sit back. Come onto your back. This is where you may need the strap. So let's all put the strap on the right foot, and you may decide you don't need it. You might find that you don't need it, but let's start with it. And so you're just going to take the tail through the rings. Hopefully you have this kind of strap. If you don't, you're just going to kind of improvise and make a loop with whatever you're working with. So take hold of your right foot. And then you're going to prop your right foot against your left thigh. And then you're going to use your left hand to support the outer right ankle, at which point you can extend your left leg. Okay, so now the hand is holding the ankle. From here, lift up your head. And with your right hand holding the strap, you're going to take your forearm behind your head. Okay, so we have the strap, but one day, someday, you're holding your big toe. So you can see about grabbing that big toe. If you're able to do that, you can do that. But for most of us, we need a little bit of filling the gap with the strap. So what you want to do here is sit forward, anchor into your left leg, align the middle of your right shin with your breastbone, and take 5 deep breaths. So in essence, we're doing a reclining pigeon, which is harder because we don't have gravity helping us close the gap here. We're having to use our own effort. Good. After the exhalation, the next exhalation, lift the head away from your forearm, unhook behind the neck, shoot the leg up. You can rest your head, take care of that knee. Same action you did before, just kind of tensing the quadriceps, pressing through the heel. And then go ahead and set up side 2. This is the last thing we're doing before Shavasana. So go ahead and loop the left foot. Take a moment to prop the ankle against the thigh. Your left hand will be holding the strap. And now your right hand is going to support the outer left ankle. Once you have that, you can send the right leg out nice and long. Lift your head, taking the left forearm, letting out enough slack that you can hook the forearm behind the head. But sit back on your arm, creating resistance that way. Don't try to baby the support of the head, the weight of the head. Sit back on the arm. You'll feel your hip responding well. And then align the shin more closely, center line of the shin with the center of the chest. 5 exhales. Really anchor into the right leg. Stabilize. With this last exhalation, you can unhook the arm, rest the head, shoot the left leg up, firming the leg, stabilize the knee. It doesn't wiggle when it's stabilized. That's a good sign. And then you can help your strap off of your left foot. Take a moment if you need any finishing movements before final resting pose. You might massage your lower back. You might hug your legs in reclining child, happy baby, separating knees. So just kind of listen or tune into what your body's asking for. And then finding Shavasana. Unfolding the arms and legs. Making sure your chin and forehead are aligned, that you don't have the chin floating higher than the forehead. Use a blanket if you need to. And then close your eyes. Become entirely passive in your body, which does not happen all at once. So peeling that onion, every exhale, let some little tension or contracted energy in your body fall away. Observe your body breathing by itself. Smoothing out any tensions in the face, brow line, cheeks, forehead, chin, jaw. Tongue and throat, chest, spine, lungs. Visceral abdominal tension, very common. We carry a lot of it. So the next 5 exhales, just softening the low belly. Muscles of the legs falling away from the bones. And with the next 5 in-breaths, bringing space into the soles of your feet. Drawing the breath from the soles of the feet up into the entire landscape of the body, out to all the extremities. Sometimes imagining the breath as your favorite color. As you breathe in, the body fills in that color. As you breathe out, it empties of the color. Be here as long as you like. As you're ready to leave the pose, folding the hands onto the chest or belly, stepping the soles of the feet onto the floor, easing yourself to one side, and then using the hands to help bring you up to seated. From seated, take a little bit of time sitting with whatever remains. Sealing the hands together in front of the heart. Allow an easy smile to come to your face. Let's find a sense of gratitude here, which is a true marker of a successful practice. Take a deep breath in through the nose and let it go. From the place within me that I know to be divine, I honor that place within each of you. Namaste.